Hello and welcome to the DTCC discussion on the impacts of MiFID II and MiFIR. DTCC is a service provider in multiple areas of the middle and back office in the European markets, and MiFID II and MiFIR will have significant impacts on the post-trade landscape in this part of the world. So I'm here joined today by a couple of colleagues, Andrew and Bill, to discuss the subject in more detail. Firstly, we'll kick off with some introductions so that you know who we are and what we do within the organisation. Andrew, hi. Could you tell us some more details about your role, please?
Thanks, Tony. I'm Andrew Douglas. I have two roles within the DTCC in Europe. Firstly, I am the CEO of the European Trade Repository that the DTCC operates. And secondly, I'm also the head of policy and government relations for Europe and Asia. So interestingly, I guess one role supports the other very much when looking at the implementation of MiFID and MiFIR.
Thank you, Andrew. Bill, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Bill Minahan. I'm the Executive Director looking after the Alert product, which is our settlement instruction database.
Thank you, Bill. And I'm Tony Freeman. I'm in the industry relations function based in London. Our job is to look at regulatory issues and market infrastructure issues which affect our clients on a global basis. Andrew, MiFID II and MiFIR have been described as big, large. Can you quantify just how large they are? Is it possible to be more precise about it?
A very difficult question to answer. What I will do is quote from Stephen Mayall, who's the chairman of ESMA, the European Securities Markets Regulator. And he said in 2015 to the European Parliament that MiFID II MiFIR is the most significant and voluminous piece of level 2 regulation that ESMA has ever undertaken. So I think it's fairly obvious. The chairman of ESMA thinks this is a big piece of work. When you look at the impact that it has across the broad life cycle, we can see that obviously I'm particularly interested in the reporting piece, but there is also elements of transparency, there's best execution. This is a very, very complex and broad piece of regulation.
And it significantly broadens the scope, doesn't it, to fixed income and commodities markets,
not just
equity? Yes.
I mean, it adds in all areas. It adds to the instruments that are going to be reported. It adds to the entities who have to do the reporting. It adds to the amount of data that the entities have to report. So in all regards, it is an extensive piece of work for all participants, ourselves included.
Yeah, I think it's probably the biggest piece of European regulatory change I've seen in many, many years. Bill, moving over to you. Andrew mentioned data. Data is your specialist subject. What's the impact on the data landscape of MiFID II and MiFIR?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it expands the scope of items and securities that are covered by the MiFID, original MiFID regulation. So this will be the first time that equities and fixed income securities will need to be reported, and they have to be reported with an LEI, a legal entity identifier. So that's a significant extension of what's happening today. There's about 500,000 legal entity identifiers that exist today. There's talk that we potentially need about another 1 million on top of that to allow for the full scope of this regulation. So one of the things that we've been doing with Alert is for some time we've been allowing the entry of an LEI into Alert. So we're going to extend that to allow for the LEIs that are needed for this regulation to be also added and maintained in that system. As part of the work that we're doing to support MiFIR, we're also going to be enriching that information into one of our transaction systems, Central Trade Manager, CTM. So that's something that we have virtually completed. So
how long have you been discussing this with clients? Is it a while now that it's been going on, this preparation?
Yeah, it's been over the last couple of years. We've had conversations with clients about what's needed. We've already added some of the features that we need. We'll complete the rest of them by this summer. So we'll be ready in plenty of time to get clients enough time to get everything in place ready for that January 3rd go live date.
Great, thank you.